You may have seen the headlines coming out of Germany. There are shocking reports about the collapse of a titan, Porsche. We are hearing about profit warnings, collapsing sales, and a 99% plunge in some metrics. It seems like a dramatic failure for a brand that wants to find perfection. But I am telling you today, the news from Germany is a distraction. The headlines about Porsche are focusing on the symptom, not the disease. The real story isn't about cars. It is about what is inside those cars. It's about a silent war for the raw materials that run our entire modern world. It is a war that the West, including the United States and Canada, has already strategically lost. Today, we are not going to talk about the collapse of Porsche. We are going to talk about the collapse of Western industrial sovereignty. This isn't just about your car. This is about our national security. I am going to explain how 17 metals you have likely never heard of now dictate everything from the F-35 fighter jet all the way down to the John Deere tractor on your farm. And I will show you why the West has walked directly into a strategic checkmate, the invisible choke point. To understand this, we need to define our terms. We need to talk about rare earth elements, or REEs. Now, the first myth we have to bust is their name. Rare earths are not actually rare. They are quite abundant in the Earth's crust, found all over the world, including right here in North America. They are rare in the sense that they are almost never found in concentrated pure forms. They are rare because they are extraordinarily difficult, toxic, and expensive to separate and refine. And that is the entire story. The second thing we must understand is that not all green materials are the same. When people talk about the EV transition, they usually mention lithium and cobalt. These are the battery metals. They store energy. But rare earths are different. Metals like neodymium and praseodymium, these are the motor metals. They are used to create the most powerful, lightweight, high-performance permanent magnets in the world. You cannot build a high-efficiency electric motor for a Porsche, a Tesla, or a wind turbine without them. Other REEs like gallium and germanium are fundamental to semiconductors, radar systems, and fiber optics. Put simply, lithium and cobalt are the fuel tank of the 21st century. But rare earths, they are the engine. They are the brain. They are the invisible lifeblood of our entire technological society. The 20-year checkmate. So how did we get here? How did these 17 metals become the single greatest strategic vulnerability of the United States and Canada? It didn't happen by accident. It happened by design. If you go back to the 1980s and 1990s, the United States was actually the world leader in rare earth production. We had the Mountain Pass mine in California, which supplied most of the world. But then two things happened. First, the environmental movement. Refining rare earths is a horrifically toxic process. It involves complex chemical baths, acids, and low-level radioactive waste. As environmental regulations in the US and Canada tightened, the cost of doing this here became astronomical. Second, globalization. In the 1990s and 2000s, our entire economic philosophy was offshoring. We believed it was smart to let other, poorer nations do the dirty, difficult, and unprofitable work. And so, the West, the Uniteds, Canada, Europe, we gladly offshored this entire industry. And who was waiting with open arms? China. While the West was chasing quarterly profits, China was executing a 30-year strategic plan. They were willing to absorb the environmental cost in exchange for total global control. They subsidized their state-run companies. They flooded the market with low-cost REEs, driving Western mines like Mountain Pass into bankruptcy. And they didn't just master the mining, they mastered the entire value chain. This is the most critical point. Today, according to the U.S. Geological Survey, China may only mine around 70% of the world's rare earths, but it processes, it refines, nearly 90 to 95% of them. They control 95% of the heavy REEs. They control nearly 100% of the production of the high-performance magnets that come from them. They have become the world's only refinery for the modern economy. This was a 20-year game of chess. The West thought it was getting cheap goods. In reality, it was handing over the keys to its entire industrial and military future. Checkmate. And if you think this dependency is just a commercial problem, if you think this is just about whether a Porsche is too expensive or a Tesla's stock price goes down, you have misunderstood the threat. This is not a commercial problem. It is a catastrophic national security failure. The same materials that power a green car power our most advanced defense systems. The United States Department of Defense is one of the world's largest consumers of rare earths. Let's be very specific. According to reports from the Congressional Research Service, the F-35 Lightning II, the most advanced fighter jet on the planet, requires hundreds of pounds of rare earth materials for its critical components. The advanced AN/APG-81 radar, that's rare earths. The electronic warfare systems, that's rare earths. The guidance systems in the very missiles it fires, that's rare earths. Let's talk about the Javelin anti-tank missile, which has been so critical in Ukraine. Its ability to seek and destroy heat signatures comes from components that require rare earths. A Tomahawk cruise missile, its guidance system and actuators, 100% dependent on high-power rare earth magnets. An Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, its advanced SPY-1 radar system, its sonar, its electric drive motors, all of it runs on materials that come from one and only one supply chain. Let's state this as plainly as possible. The United States Department of Defense cannot build its own frontline weapon systems without components and refined materials from its number one geopolitical rival. Our entire national defense is dependent on a supply chain that can be shut off tomorrow with a single political decree from Beijing. That is the reality. That is the Gutchan Asen, Achilles heel of America. The threat to the heartland. But this threat isn't just in the Pentagon or in some far-off missile silo. This threat is right here at home. It is on your farm. A modern tractor, a John Deere, or a Case IH is not the simple machine your grandfather drove. It is a data center on wheels. It is arguably one of the most technologically advanced pieces of equipment in the world. Think about precision farming. The high-precision GPS receivers that allow for planting in perfectly straight lines year after year, the sensors that analyze soil quality in real time, the actuators that control the precision planting of individual seeds, the advanced semiconductors and computer chips that run the entire operation, all of it runs on the exact same family of rare earth magnets and gallium-based semiconductors that our defense industry relies on. Your ability to be the most efficient farmer in the world is tied directly to this single supply chain. So what happens? What happens when a farmer in Iowa or Saskatchewan needs a replacement part for their tractor's guidance system? What happens when the price of a new combine harvester suddenly doubles or triples? We don't have to guess. We've already seen the warning shot. In August of 2023, Beijing announced restrictions on the export of gallium and germanium. These are the two key materials for high-end semiconductors. The price of those materials shot up overnight. That is weaponization. That is China demonstrating its power. They are showing every farmer in the American heartland, that a political decision they make in Beijing can directly and immediately impact the cost of you planting corn in Iowa. This isn't just about cars or jets. This is about our food security, the false hope. At this point, you are probably asking, this is insane. What is Washington doing about it? And you will hear a convenient, comfortable answer. You will hear about reshoring. The myth is that we are reshoring our supply chains. We are opening mines back up. They will point to the Mountain Pass mine in California, which has restarted operations. This is the great hope we are being sold. But this is the false hope. It is a political soundbite, not a strategic reality. Here is the harsh, unvarnished truth. Historically, for years, the Mountain Pass mine was doing nothing more than digging up raw ore and shipping it all to China for processing. Now that has improved. The company that owns it, MP Materials, has worked tirelessly and has successfully completed what it calls Phase 2. They are now able to process and separate the raw ore right here in California. This is a fantastic first step. But, and this is the fatal but, we are still missing Phase 3. We have almost no capacity in the United States to take that refined material and turn it into the actual magnets, the sensors, and the motors. So even today, much of that processed material still has to be sent back to Asia to be turned into the final products that the F-35 and the John Deere tractor actually need. We are still fundamentally dependent. Building out that entire toxic, complex, multi-billion-dollar Phase 3 industrial base, that takes 10 to 15 years. That takes a level of industrial policy and environmental trade-offs that, frankly, Beijing, our political system is not prepared for. We are decades behind. Our reshoring efforts are, at this point, a ghost town. The weaponization is here, and we are out of time. The weaponization of this supply chain is not a what-if scenario. It is not a hypothetical threat. It has already happened. As I mentioned, in 2023, China put export controls on gallium and germanium. They claimed it was for national security. We all know what it was, a warning shot. But the real precedent was set back in 2010. During a minor diplomatic dispute over a fishing boat, China completely cut off all rare earth exports to Japan. Within weeks, Japan's high-tech manufacturing sector, Toyota, Sony, Panasonic, was on its knees. They were forced into a humiliating political surrender. China has proven, in no uncertain terms, that it sees these minerals as a weapon. It is a gun they have loaded, aimed directly at the head of the Western economy, and they have shown us they are perfectly willing to pull the trigger. This dependency on minerals. This is the first critical part of the story. The second part of the story is the dependency on food. In our next video, I will explain how this exact same strategy of supply chain control is now being used to threaten America's food supply, and it all centers on your local farm. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss that. The collapse of Porsche, as the original video discussed, is not a business story. It is a national security warning. It is the symptom of a disease we have ignored for 30 years. We, in the West, in our pursuit of a clean environment and cheap goods, have traded away our industrial sovereignty. We traded our strength for a fatal vulnerability. And this brings us to the final critical question. Knowing what we now know, knowing that our most advanced defense systems, our F-35s, and our most critical infrastructure, our farms, are all completely dependent on a single rival supply chain. Do you see this as a simple economic oversight? Or was this the single greatest and most predictable strategic failure of the last 30 years? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read them all. Thank you for watching.